All right, today we're diving into the life of a man who is just synonymous with the struggle for freedom. This is the story of Nelson Mandela, and we're going to explore it through his own words, from his incredible autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom.
So right off the bat, Mandela hits us with this powerful idea. For him, courage wasn't about not being scared. I mean, who wouldn't be? No, it was about mastering that fear. This idea really becomes the core theme of his entire life, a journey to conquer unimaginable fear, not just for himself, but for a whole nation. Now, to really get Mandela, you have to understand the world he was born into. And it was a society that was deliberately and just brutally divided by design.
That system had a name: apartheid. And look, this wasn't just some vague prejudice. No, this was a cold, calculated legal framework meticulously designed to separate people by race. It concentrated all the power with a white minority and systematically crushed the dark-skinned majority. And in Mandela's own words, this system created one of the most inhumane societies the world has ever known. It literally made life a living hell for millions of people.
It was from inside this brutal machine that a young Mandela began his awakening. He started to realize that the so-called freedom he thought he had, well, it was nothing more than an illusion.
He had this huge realization, The small personal freedoms he enjoyed weren't true freedom at all. They were a mirage, only allowed as long as he never, ever challenged the system. And that's when it clicked. His own freedom was completely inseparable from the freedom of all his people. You couldn't have one without the other.
And this realization, it wasn't just some philosophical thought. It lit a fire. It immediately turned into action. He didn't just sit around thinking about freedom. He dedicated his entire life to the struggle. He joined the African National Congress. He led peaceful protests. And eventually, when that wasn't enough, he even participated in armed resistance. He was all in, fighting for the most basic human rights.
But when you fight a system that powerful, that oppressive, it comes at a price, an absolutely unimaginable cost. So let's talk about the price Mandela and so many others had to pay. 27. Just let that number sink in for a second. For nearly 3 decades, that's how long Nelson Mandela was a political prisoner. 27 years of his life, just stolen, spent behind bars for fighting against apartheid. And this timeline really puts that number into perspective, doesn't it? His active struggle kicks off way back in the 1940s, he's thrown in prison in 1964, and he doesn't walk out a free man again until 1990. We're talking about a half-century of his life dedicated to this one single cause. But here's something that's absolutely crucial to understanding the man. He never saw this as just his struggle. Mandela always made a point to honor the countless others who fought right alongside him. Men and women who sacrificed everything, but sadly didn't live to see that day of freedom. For him, the movement was always bigger than any one person. Which brings us to that very autumn day he spoke of, a moment of just incredible victory and a total rebirth for an entire nation. After all those decades of struggle, after 27 years in prison, it finally happened. May 10, 1994. Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as the first black president of a free and democratic South Africa. The very system he had dedicated his life to fighting was, at last, dismantled. And this was a huge deal. It was South Africa's first truly democratic election. You had leaders from all around the globe gathered there to witness it. And what's one of the first things Mandela did? He formed a multi-ethnic government. What a powerful symbol of the new, unified nation he was trying to build. The whole day was a massive celebration of a nation reclaiming its very soul.
So, after that long walk, what did freedom truly mean to him? Well, his journey revealed a wisdom that's both profound and, honestly, pretty challenging.
He spoke of what he called the twin obligations. The idea is that every person has 2 major duties in life. The first is to your family, your parents, your partner, your children. The second is your duty to your people, your community, and your country. But under apartheid, he explained, fulfilling both was impossible. In choosing to serve his people, he was forced to neglect his family. It just goes to show how the system was designed to break you on every level, both personal and public.
But maybe his most profound insight of all was this: the oppressor is just as much a prisoner as the oppressed. Now think about that for a second. He argued that while the oppressed are robbed of their freedom, the oppressor is locked in a cage of hatred, robbed of their very humanity. So to create a truly free society, he believed both have to be liberated. And that's where his story leaves us, with this final, really challenging question. If true freedom isn't just about breaking your own chains, but also about freeing your oppressor from theirs, what does it really take for any of us to be free?